second referee for today's match. A proud moment for those two gentlemen. And what sort of match is it going to be? It's going to be a reward, certainly, that's for sure, for the volleyball fans worldwide. Some 800 million people who play this sport on a regular basis. And the starting sixes to be announced to the crowd. No surprises then. Setter Marcelo Elgarten, who missed the 2004 gold, is back for his go at Olympic glory at 33 years of age. Andre Heller and Gustavo Endres will be the middle blocking partnership. The swing hitters, the mercurial captain Giba Gilberto Guraifalo, the 2004 MVP. And there is Bernardinho Rezende, the head coach, an Olympic finalist back in '84. And for the USA, Lloyd Ball, the playmaker, claims his 378th cap today, the 36-year-old looking for gold. David Lee and Ryan Miller will be the middle blocking partnership, as they have been during this entire games. William Priddy in his third Olympics, swing hitting outside with Riley Salmon, the former captain of the USA. Richard Lambourne in the libero position. And then opposite in his second Olympics, 2 meters and 5, Clayton Stanley for his 150th cap. Hugh McCutcheon at the end of a traumatic 2 weeks with an opportunity of Olympic gold. It's USA versus Brazil. The Americans, the USA, who defeated Brazil just a couple of weeks ago in the World League, renew their rivalry with the defending Olympic champions. Brazil, so commanding in 2004, back with 8 out of 12 players from that squad and looking to defend their Olympic title, and alongside the USA and the Soviet Union, to become only the 3rd nation to achieve that feat. Bela Hobo, the second official from Hungary, just checking both starting rotations. The 6 players on court and ready to go. It's Marcelino, Heller and Gustavo, along with Giba and Dante, and the left-hander Andre Nascimento, with Sergio the libero for Brazil. It'll be Ryan Miller to get things underway for the USA. The Olympic gold medal final has begun, and Brazil attack first, confidently breaking through the block. Dante with the kill. For the USA on court, Lloyd Ball, the playmaker, David Lee and Ryan Miller, the middle blockers, William Priddy and Riley Salmon outside, with Clayton Stanley opposite, and libero, 33-year-old Richard Lambourne. Under pressure today, his passing is going to have to be spot on. Andre Heller then prepares to serve. He and Gustavo have a big job today through the middle. And a top feed, but it's a miss from Stanley. Great set from Lloyd Ball. He began his international career back in the World Student Games in 1991. It was an open net as well for Stanley. Well, Ball has started well. That was a nervy hit from the big man. And Clayton Stanley so vital to the USA's opportunities today. He has to make sure his side-out game functions. 2-0 Brazil then in this first set. Stanley gets another feed. He's done it again. Into the antenna once more. And this is a twitchy start from the Americans. Hugh McCutcheon will already be thinking about the possibility of bringing in Gabe Gardner, the 32-year-old replacement opposite player. Andre again to serve, trying to pressure Richard Lambourne down that line, and the pipe attack demolished. Riley Salmon in with a big hit. Priddy and Salmon, the closest I think the USA have ever been to recreating that magical partnership that Bob Sturtlick and Karch Kirai were able to create to take gold back in '88 when the USA defended the Olympic title. Ball in quickly, nice clear up from the USA, and Lee is roofed out of sight on that one by Gustavo. And yesterday's birthday boy with a big block. Well, David Lee has crunched an absolute hatful of balls at this Olympics so far, and that early shutdown very positive from the Brazilians. It's first blood to the South Americans, that's for sure. 4-1 then. Andre with the serve into the net, the left-handed opposite player, who has a similar amount of pressure today as Clayton Stanley. Both those opposite men are going to have to deliver to take the pressure away from the swing hitters and the middle players. William Pretty then just chatting away to himself as he serves. Beautiful swing, that's some big hit. Dante Amaral can be a streaky player, but if he gets a good start, he's tough to stop. He's just gone over the top of David Lee to make that kill. David Lee touches around about 333 on the block. Now holding back. Both teams hammering away with those jump serves. Brazil, when they gained silver medal in 1984, thrilled the world with the introduction of the jump serve. Teams haven't looked back since then. It's become a regular feature of volleyball now. Sergio. A tricky feed. It's another chance for the USA. Well, both teams very tight. The timing's completely out in this rally. And an absolute shocker to finish, as Loy Ball sticks that nowhere near Ryan Miller, his middle blocker. And the man who wears the Rage Against the Machine tattoo, "Anger is a gift," on his arm, he's going to have to believe that is the case after that set. 6-3 Brazil. Good start from the defending champions. And still the services won't go in, but trust me, Coach Bernardinho won't be encouraging Brazil to back off the pace on those serves. He'll just be demanding that the ball goes in, but he'll want the same pace and the same intensity. Not a great start from Clayton Stanley, European Champions League winner with Kazan, along with his compatriot Loy Ball. Great turn through the middle. Andre Heller in fast. Ade Quick defeating the US block. And it's the USA that look very nervous indeed. Quite incredible to have two finals. Pretty's missed it. Two finals with the same nations. Brazil getting the first advantage, winning the women's gold and going well in the men's. In the men's volleyball, defending champions Brazil off to a fantastic start, and after the first technical timeout in set one, it's the yellow and greens with a comfortable lead, 8-4. Marcelino with the serve. Beautiful feed again from Loy Ball, but the USA are struggling a bit with their timing. Stanley's missed two. William Pretty's missed a pipe attack as well. The key for them is not to alter what they're doing. It's just to let the nerves settle, let the adrenaline just get through the body a bit and allow them to start hitting those shots hard. Well, this is ideal for Brazil. Giba, their star player for the last 5 or 6 years, has been, well, less than impressive in some of the games he's played. There he is, the skipper. He can't carry that attacking burden as heavily as he used to, and it's so important they kill the ball through other areas. Nice dig from him. Oh, this is great stuff. Both teams starting to operate at a high level now. And a miss from Dante Amaral. It's Hugh McCutcheon, the head coach of the USA. Lots of great close-ups of the looks that the teams share through the net. They do know each other very well indeed. Second Olympics for Ryan Miller. Years of age now. That's a good dig. Beautiful attack, but well defended. And there's the versatility of Brazil. the availability of players for setter Marcelino to use is quite incredible. Brilliant pickup from Salmon. Ball came back very quickly, but already Heller was up, available in the air, and Marcelino fed the middle player for the point. Oh, we're just whizzing through the rotations at the moment. 10-6 for Brazil. Not the highest calibre of game at the moment. I think the nerves affecting both teams in the first, second ball play we've seen from Lloyd Ball. Thought his international career was finished. I think he did as well, but as a partnership, Clayton Stanley and he have returned to this US squad with vengeance. Good serve, nice pass. And a beautiful pipe attack destroyed by Jiba. No signs at all that the captain is below par in this match. Played some of the most sensational volleyball you will ever see in the 2004 final, did Jiba. He gained the MVP award, quite rightly so. He didn't single-handedly take Italy to pieces, but it was certainly his play in the opening 2 sets that destroyed their chances. Oh, nice chase from Pretty, but that one's out of play. And there's the issue that the Americans are going to have if Brazil serve like this. Can they pass the ball consistently enough to their setter to allow them to operate that side out without losing points? Hugh McCutcheon faced with his first coaching task of this final. Decides to call a timeout. Lashing serve from Andre, the left-hander. Well, he's got one of the biggest jumps in the US team as William Pretty, so leaping over the advertising hoardings, no issue at all for him. Touches 353 on his spike, so if you think about that, it's 53 centimetres higher than a basketball ring. That's the point at which William Pretty contacts the volleyball when he's hitting. Really is quite a sensational athlete. But at the moment, it's not helping the Americans. 12-7. Brazil lead, and the Olympic champions look good. Pretty having to roll shot that, and this is going to be another chance for Andre. Oh, great work from him. Good blocking from the USA, and David Lee has more than compensated for that opening hit into the block from him. His mobility at the net is quite amazing. Plays for Halk Bankasi in the Turkish league, does the 26-year-old middle blocker. 2 meters and 3 tall, and between he and Ryan Miller, they've touched and slowed down so many attacks in this game. Pretty misses again. One lines judge says in, the other says out. Referee decides to go with the out call. Riley Salmon next to Richard Lambourne, waiting for the next pass. It'll be Dante Amaral to serve. Takes the pace off. That's a nice, comfortable side-out hit from Salmon. I do like the way this man plays. He's the Sturtlick, the Bob Sturtlick part of the partnership, the way that he tools the ball off the block, waits for his chances to make a kill. Pretty's more explosive, more of a Karch Kirai style of player. And a hit from Jiba that just skims the block. Now, we mentioned that coach Bernardinho of Brazil played in that 1984 final. He was the backup setter for Brazil, and funnily enough, his own son Bruninho is on the bench as the backup setter in this final in 2008. And another passing error. The USA can't afford this. You cannot give Brazil anything in a match if you want to beat them. That's what happened in the semi-final of the World League. The USA shut down any advantage for the Brazilians to take it by 3-0. Scores were close, 25-23, 25-22, 27-25. But they did it with complete control. Well, it's more good blocking for the USA, and that's the one department of their game that is functioning at the moment. So important that they shut down the left-hander Andre. And for the time being, that's what they're doing. Any read where they've got 2 or 3 blockers on him and they're stopping. Marcelino disgusted that ball didn't come back into play. Clayton Stanley for the USA. Knocks over the passer Dante. So clever. No, that's in. I'm sure that hit the line. Sergio having a word with Riley Salmon, who says doesn't matter, it hit the hand. And the protests of the Americans go unheralded. 16-10 at the second technical timeout. Lead the USA in set number 1 of the gold medal match for the men's volleyball. USA taking both the beach volleyball contests here in Beijing. Brazil taking the women's gold medal indoors. 1 medal left for the USA to make it 3 from 4. What an incredible result that would be. Loy Ball getting involved, but in a gentle way, as is his method, shall we call it, at the net. He'll indulge in a bit of conversation with the Brazilian players. They have tremendous respect for each other. And Salmon missed his last play, can't put that away. Clayton Stanley shoves it in the block as well. Brazil not being forced to play at their highest level at the moment. Already your brain starts to think forward to potential scenarios for this match. 2-0 Brazil. USA come back to 2-all. Tiebreaker set, that's a possible. Brazil will want to finish it in 3 before the USA wake up. It's another wild swing, but it's picked up a piece of the block on the way through. Riley Salmon will take that. And he knows he was a touch lucky there. Andre, probably the man that caught a piece of that. Salmon will serve. 11-17 down. And that's all the Americans are trying to do. They're trying to force Marcelino to set the ball from around about the 3-meter line. They want to break down that pipe option, restrict what can be a 4- and 5-man attack pattern from the Brazilians, and that makes their blocking options a lot easier. And then their read and react block system can work. Tight to the net. Oh, good up again. And that's great work to keep it alive from Ryan Miller. Oh, wonderful dig from Marcelino. He wants this gold medal, does the Brazilian setter. This is better. Class volleyball from both teams, and it's wide. But what a rally. We got to the point there where both teams were hitting the ball as physically hard as they could, and both sides defending the shots. Stanley standing his ground for the dig, but all to no avail. 18-12. Brazil still comfortable in this first set. Giba just checking the rotation to make sure it's the right server here for the Brazilians. In the heat of battle, it's amazing what things just go out of your head, and exactly where you're supposed to be on court is one of them, even for the greats in the game. Giba to serve. Good pace from the Brazilian captain. He's off after this one. Oh my goodness! Well, that was dangerous. He headed towards the end where all the statisticians are based. And I must say, they held their ground, didn't they? A few stats people, a few photographers, one having to take evasive action. And it's the steeplechase for Jiba. Falls at the second hurdle. But I'm delighted to say, without injury. Ryan Miller to serve. USA 5 points down, and at the moment, just looking a little shell-shocked out there on court. Long by a considerable distance. And Andre, as he so often does, having a little word with his captain Jiba, just to say, hey, calm down. We got this first set in the bag without your heroics. There'll be time to use those later in the match, I'm sure. Andre will serve. Goes after Richard Lambourne again. That is a brilliant attack from David Lee. Learned his lesson from the early block. Turns this across his body. He's got some height, hasn't he? Ball to serve again. No way back at the moment for the USA in this first set. Or maybe that's the route back. A super hit down the line. Big service from Loy Ball. Well, he kept this tight to the line all the way. Got a bit of movement on it as well, inside to out. And that's the man they've got to pressure on service. They've got to put Dante under pressure, especially when he's the backline pipe option, and that will be the way that the USA can score points. They've gone after him again and missed it. Once more, one lines judge says in, one out, but the referee calling just right. Wang Ning, the first official from China, keeping a close eye on this game. 5 points required, and the first of the tactical substitutions will occur. Bernardinho brings his son on. So father and son have competed now in an Olympic final. 1984 and 2008. In also comes Murillo next to his older brother, Gustavo. The Endres boys are on. And that means Brazil have this quality blocking option through 3 more rotations. Don't always see that tactical substitution pay dividends, but it has there. Look at that, the two brothers next to each other, making the block. Hugh McCutcheon forced to use his second timeout. New Zealander, born in Christchurch. Came across to a volleyball scholarship at Brigham Young University under the expert guidance of Carl McGowan back in the late 80s, early 90s. And hasn't looked back since then. Had a short spell coaching with Vienna Hot Volleys for 2 seasons, and from there the US program realised he was a talent and picked him up, brought him back to the USA. Became an American citizen when he married former US player Elizabeth Bachman. He's been coaching for a relatively short period of time with this US team, but he will be hailed as a hero for his exploits this year, whether they win this match or not. That was some hit from Stanley. Rocking the head back of the defender, Bruninho, down the line. Pretty again. Off-pace serve, well dealt with. Oh, that's a brilliant play from Dante. I still maintain that's the guy they've got to go after, the number 18 in the backcourt. No point serving Sergio, no point serving Jiba. They'll pass the ball all day, but Dante's the man that can be put under pressure. Having said that, if he copes with the pressure, he's got a fair amount of firepower to throw into the mix himself. 22-16, Brazil. They will be able to walk their way through this one. It's for a 1-0 lead, that's for certain. Rooney comes in for Lee. So the Americans' youngest player comes to court. 25 years of age for his 42nd cap. Touches 354 on the spike, 336 on the block. He's 2 meters and 6 tall. He comes in for his service ability. Easy pass. Look how easy Jiba makes it, and that's the problem. Well, a bit of luck there for the USA, because Dante is infringed on the line. The backcourt player has to take off behind the 3-meter line. He's put his foot on or over it. Now as he comes in, yeah, he's stepped on it with his left foot. Good call from the referees. Beautiful attack from Brazil though. And a harder serve this time into the net. But that's key for USA against Brazil. If they pass Jiba when he's in front or back court and he passes it well, they still have the pipe option open. If they pass him when he's in front court, Dante will run that pipe, which is that middle attack from the back line, just across the back of the middle player. And if they keep running that, Brazil are a very difficult team to cope with in offense, let alone all the other options they have. A rather stuttering finish to this first set for both teams. May even get round far enough for Bernardinho to have to reverse his substitution and bring Marcelino back in. Backline offense from Murillo. Quite an interesting decision to bring Murillo in instead of Samuel. I think Samuel being kept up the sleeve for potential issues later on. But we may not even see one of the most talented volleyball players in the world on court for Brazil, Samuel Fuchs. And indeed, Murillo's kill does bring that rotation round. Andre back on court, so he will play front line. And Marcelino back onto court as the back row setter. Set point, and plenty of them for Brazil. And the pipe attack works this time for the USA. William Priddy puts it away. Priddy, incidentally, also playing in Russia. It's not the only one. Total of 4 players from the USA squad. 5 players, in fact, earning their money in the Russian leagues. And that ball finally slapped onto the floor by Andre Heller to complete a comprehensive win in that first set. 25 points to 20. And I think all of you out there that watch Eurosport volleyball on a regular basis will know neither team has run in 2004 against Italy. For the Americans, this is completely uncharted territory. None of their players have ever been to an Olympic final before. And the USA haven't featured in an Olympic final since they defended their title back in 1988 in Seoul, having won the gold medal from Brazil in Los Angeles in '84. In relative terms, both these nations still quite young internationally. Brazil really didn't get their program kick-started and into action until the 80s. And for the USA, it was a very similar story. Most of that '84 gold medal winning squad were actually working part-time and training in the evenings, so it wasn't even a full-time program back in the day when Doug Beal got that team together. Berzins, Buck, Dewellis, Dvorak, Kirai, Marlowe, Powers, Salmons, Sunderland, Timmons and Waldy. And how many of you could have named that off the top of your head? I have to admit I didn't. That's a little list that I looked up. Could have got close to the full 12, but not all of them. And for Brazil, a certain Bernardo Rezende, Bernardinho as he's now known, the head coach of Brazil, was on the bench for that Brazilian team during the final. The cousin also, Rei Campos Nascimento of Andre, played then and played in the 1992 gold medal winning team for Brazil. That's the man that inspired him to play, but he's just been roofed out of sight by Ryan Miller. Good start to the second set as Bernardinho begins to get a bit frantic. Is there anyone more intense in the world of volleyball? Well, since Nikolai Karpol has retired, there isn't. Nice line-up, bit of a drift block from the USA, but they're getting good touches on the ball. If it's not stuffed, it's slowed down. So important for the Americans that Clayton Stanley begins to get the job done. an immediate lead for the Americans. He hit that late, didn't he? But he got it through the middle of the block. There we go. That's the reactions we need from Clayton Stanley, and that's the reaction that the USA wants from the big man. He can so often be quiet and almost removed from the team, but really into his game there. Sure that his and Loy Ball's time with Kazan last year in the Russian league allowed them to cope with what Russia threw at them in the semi-final. What a game that was. 3-2 in the end. A bit of replanning and restructuring here. There's Andre Heller, trusted to deliver information to the rest of the team. He can feel that he's able to do that. Bernardinho encourages Andre to speak to the players that need to be spoken to, and Andre was the man for his special attention. I don't know if you just saw Andre skip onto court then, but he has a superstition. He will only walk back onto court with his right foot first. He says he's had that, he's been doing that since he was 14 years of age. Hopefully it'll work for him in this final. Stanley again off pace, nicely dug by Jiba. And that's a stop. Loy Ball, one of the tallest setters in the world, getting his hands on that one. 2 meters and 3, 6 feet 8. Managed to rebound that, I think, off Dante's left shoulder. Out, says Dante, but not before it hit him. Stanley with a deep breath. 4-0 to the USA. This is what this final needs for the Americans to start playing. Oh, that's a wonderful ace. How fast can he hit the ball? 118 kilometers per hour is pretty quick in the modern game. The ball with the air taken out of it. There's not as much air pressure in the ball as there was 10 years or so ago when the players were belting it up around about the 144k mark. So it travels slower, but doesn't look like it, does it? in the pictures you'll be getting at home, that ball will be a blur. Good movement again from Marcelino to get in. Sergio feeds Giba. Well dug by Lambourne in the back line. Stanley, and he's made it again for 6-0. What a start to this second set from the USA. And the Brazilians don't know where to look. Marcelino trying to slow proceedings down. He's asked for more moisture to be cleared from the court, which collected after that dive. It was the dive of a 33-year-old. Good coverage, but not quite as fluent as it used to be. And Murillo, well, that's a massive shock. I'm wondering if Samuel is actually injured. And thinking about it, I didn't see him warm up with all that much ferocity. Murillo comes in then, opposite. He's an out-and-out four-player, really. USA again, pretty, with a great shot. Wonderful dig from Brazil. Well, Giba's working magic down that line in 5. Again, Brazil have to scoot in. Free ball, USA. Not killed. Giba with another defensive play. And then makes his own shot into the corner. Well, I don't agree with the American protest there. That one looked in fair and square. Hits with a bit of cut to make it go inside the block of Miller. Brilliant work from the Brazilian captain. 3 defensive plays in a row. And the new man on court, Murilo Endres, with the serve. It's his first shot from the back line, easily dug by Clayton Stanley. Oh, what a dig from Sergio. Oh, this is magic. Brilliant rally. Just phenomenal. How on earth did Brazil defend that ball? Twice in a row they made pickups that should have won the rally. And then the Americans come back with their own bit of magic, and Clayton Stanley applies the finishing touch. And Hugh McCutcheon can't control the emotions. This is just a magic final now. Both teams starting to really play. And it's another backline infringement. Referee Wang Ning says that The line was once again stepped on by Giba, and Brazil, having taken the first set, now are being given a volleyball lesson by the USA. Discussing their blocking patterns. Who takes who in the event of which attack? Giba is the focus. Everything centres around whether the ball goes to Giba. If it doesn't, who blocks where? And it's a great thing to listen to. McCutcheon has got these American players absolutely cued in to what he wants from them. And in the second set, with the USA actually playing, they're starting to look the part now. And Brazil are going to have to fight back. They start with a middle attack from Gustavo, who was enjoying a real purple patch in his career. Then he was made captain in the absence of Giba. I thought that destroyed his game for a few weeks. He was playing quite badly. He couldn't even make it on court. And then, with the Olympics just around the corner, with Giba back in the team, with Rodrigo fighting him for his place, he's suddenly playing great again. Although not on that occasion. Brazil getting completely conned by Loy Ball. .54 matches between these two teams. This is the 54th encounter, and of the previous 53, Brazil have won 33, USA 20. Tremendous aggression from Murillo, who's not the tallest of outside hitters, at 6'3". Brutal shot off the block, so 3-9, 6 points the difference. Should be enough for the Americans to finish this set off, even though we're very, very early stages still of the second set. Is there anything quite like William Priddy in full flight in the world of volleyball? I guess Nikic of Serbia is pretty close. He's another guy that leaps out of the gym. Plenty for Brazil to think about. Yeah, nice attempt. Caught the block on the way. William Priddy trying to make the point that he felt a signal was given by the lines judge to say out, and didn't look to be any touch on the block there. Marcelino will serve. Good dig, Sergio. Oh, what a block. That one went straight down. That ball had hit the floor before the hitter had landed. And Giba, who doesn't really like to be taken on like that, he's going to have to up his game. I told you, he can't carry that weight of attacking responsibility when the Brazilian pass isn't on anymore. That's where Brazil have to make sure they function. If they can get the ball in, Marcelino will create gaps for his hitters. He's a good, solid playmaker. And of the players that have actually departed from the Brazilian team since 2004, the two setters have gone. The veteran Mauricio Lima, who came back for the 2004 games, and the first team setter Ricardo, to be replaced by Bruno Marcelino. Do we have the beginnings of a comeback? 5 points in it now. Great serve from Gilberto Godoy Filho to give him his full title. Giba actually married to former Romanian international player Cristina Pirv. They have one daughter. I doubt this is signed up on a volleyball contract already, just in case. Oh, great block. Told you this American middle blocking partnership was good, and now that Miller and Lee are into their stride, they're starting to shore up that net. David Lee serves, his blocking partner Ryan Miller at the net, doing a good job. And Serginho put under pressure. And the tip is easy. Good awareness from Dante to realise the block was in good form. at the net, so why take it on? Why not just tip and cause Lloyd Ball some problems? And the 36-year-old looking his age on that dive. Quite a remarkable squad age, isn't it, for the Americans? 36, 25, 26, 33, 30, 30, 32, 35, 30. It just goes on. For many players, this is their last shot at Olympic glory, and not just in the American team as well. There's quite a few 30-year-olds for Brazil. Pretty with that pipe attack that I was talking about earlier in the match. Flying through from the middle of the backcourt. Clayton Stanley to serve. And Murillo putting more effort into that hit, but it came off the block. He got a little lucky. It's funny when you've blocked how you just don't pick up where the ball has gone. I mean, that fell right next to Ryan Miller. And he didn't see it. Murillo again. Good serve, super dig. I mean, that was just amazing in the back line. William Priddy collapsing quickly to the floor and just getting his arms under the ball. And the hours and hours and hours of training allow you to get that ball into the setter, even in extreme circumstances. Salmon, who put that one away, back to the service line now. Quite got things right as Riley Salmon, and of all the American players, I think he'd be the one that was saying he's not on his game at the moment. What are the options for Hugh McCutcheon if that continues? Well, he's got a few possibilities to bring in, but he really won't want to do that if he can avoid it. Scott Szynski, very inexperienced at this level, and that's up. Brazil get another bite at this one. Again defended. Yeah, great attack. Only fair that point went to Brazil. It was fortuitous that the rally continued. Came off the foot of Priddy in mid-flight and carried on in play. You can play the ball with any part of your body in the modern game. 84. Last time these two sides met, you could still block the serve and you couldn't play the ball below your waist. And the ball was white, and the scoring was different, and there was no libero, but apart from that, it's exactly the same. That is some block. The ferocious hitting of the Brazilians being contained at the moment by some truly wonderful blocking from the USA. Another technical timeout. We'll take a break. Camera just panned down the Brazilian bench. All the Brazilian players were sat down and slumped, I would say, in their chairs, looking completely perplexed. Marcelino, the setter, looked worried, and seriously worried. I think Brazil realised that the USA have just kicked into top gear, and they haven't got anything to answer them with at the moment. Murillo in the opposite position. I don't think that's going to last. I think Andre has to come back on. And if Andre doesn't come back on, Samuel has to be on court. Nice cut shot from Giba, just going outside that block to find the court on the USA side. Another great rally, and Bernardinho is getting more and more irate on the sideline. He's a coach who provides us with some incredible close-up shots. They tend to keep a camera on him just because of his reactions, his favourite one being the shirt-eating antics. He will take the collar of his shirt and most of the top part of his shirt and try and stuff it in his mouth. He gets so annoyed. And that's another aggressive swing, but Murillo simply doesn't have the command in that opposite position that Brazil need. It's a matter of time before the four-hitter and the middle blocker start to close him down. It's still 5 points. Brazil have maintained their chase. Nice block. Read that pipe attack very early. Loy ball with a simple feed to the backline player. It's only just over the top of David Lee, isn't it? And Salmon drums that into Andre Heller's hands. Pipe attack has become almost like a side tandem. The value of that being that you don't have to bring the four-hitter in off the wing for your side tandem hit anymore. You can keep them wide and ready to go. And a little wrestling match down there between Anderson and Samuel. Anderson would normally feature in the opposite position. He's been overlooked for Murillo. Not sure what the veteran would think of that. And I'm not sure what Samuel Fuchs thinks of being overlooked either. Bernardinho has, well, for once, I would criticise his coaching. I think he's coached himself into a bit of a corner here. And he's ended up with two opposite players capable of backing Andre up, and he's used neither of them. He's gone to his swing hitter, Murillo. Make of that what you will. 4 points the difference. As ever, Bernardinho will end up proving us wrong, I'm sure. And another great block, and Andre Heller returning to the squad after quite an injury-prone last couple of seasons, where he did his ankle ligaments, he's broken some toes, and he's had a lot of hand and finger problems. He's back with a vengeance. And now the USA are in trouble. They really are in trouble now. How have they got to this point? They've just lost all of their urgency. It's Giba that makes that third man in the block, and it's Giba that kills the ball. And Brazil's main man is still in there with a say on proceedings. 17-15 to the Americans. It still should be enough for them in this set. Especially if David Lee keeps hitting the ball like that. Burst onto the scene in the last year as David Lee. He's been there or thereabouts, but he's just found that international form that he needed. Pretty will serve. Always building in the Capital Gymnasium. And a great block on Heller. David Lee gets his own back. That is some stop. And Heller will be kicking himself. He'll wonder why he didn't turn that ball. And Bernardinho calling a timeout. I don't know if you saw the way all the players for Brazil there just tried to keep their eyes forwards. Didn't want to make eye contact with the coach. But they're going to have to now because Bernardinho has called a timeout. Just keep an eye on how intense this timeout gets. He's trying to stay calm. Won't be able to for long. It's all about Giba for the Americans in terms of their blocking strategy. They try not to over-jump in the block, the Americans. They try to just get the hands up and touch the ball as it passes them, slowing it down for their defenders and allowing them to make a transition play. The silent assassin, that's what Steve Timmons used to call it. Doesn't appear on the stat sheet, but it's invaluable. And Murillo tries to turn it, but he over-rotates with his own body, hooks it either wide of the court or over the baseline. He hit it pretty fast. Major concerns now for Brazil, and Bernardinho has to make some changes. I think we'll see a different squad come out, a different six for the third set. That's all dependent, of course, on the USA keeping it together and finishing this off for 1-1. But I wouldn't be surprised to see either Anderson or Samuel come into the mix. Oh dear, what a mess. Quick apology from Priddy to Lambourne. It probably was Lambourne's ball, and Priddy was scooting around the back of him. Off balance, jumped onto him. A fairly relaxed Brazilian team leave the court for an American timeout. Well, this was never going to be anything except entertaining, this game. So far it's delivered. A slightly lacklustre first set as both teams just came to terms with the nerves. Brazil seemed to have overcome them first, but having taken that first set, it was the Americans that really bit back at the start of the second. They haven't hung on to their 6-point lead, but they've still got a lead that they can work with. 2017 to the USA. Brazil in the yellow and green. Serve through Giba. Into the middle of the net from David Lee, his least convincing shot so far. Oh my goodness. Now it's the Americans' turn to look a little tense and nervous once more. Giba just stays cool, calm and collected. Good shot. For all you outside hitters watching this match who maybe don't have the biggest jump or the most height at the net, just watch what Riley Salmon does for the rest of this game. He will vary everything he does, and on that last hit he just jumped, let it float past, dropped again, and when the block had moved out of the way, when the block had lost its impetus, hammered it off the hands. In comes Sean Rooney again. One successful serve, one false serve so far in his substituted time on court. Well, they hit the right man. They've got a chance for the point. And Clayton Stanley just puts it straight into the hands of the man in question, Dante. USA have to keep looking to serve him when they can. And that's a great recovery from the big man. Bruno on in back court for Andre Heller. Just about mobility in the back line. Rooney's out. David Lee's back in, immediately replaced by Richard Lambourne, the libero. Yes, if you watch the '84 final as opposed to this final, you would see some incredible differences in the game. Not least of all with the pace and power. It's a beautiful, majestic shot from the king of Brazilian volleyball. Just letting Marcelino know that that was a set that he could hit. Two of the biggest blockers in world volleyball up against him, and he made it look easy. 1 point in it. Bruno will serve. USA have got themselves into bother. Oh, that is some hit from Ryan Miller. Had absolutely no right to put that ball away, but from the time at which it popped into the air, he knew what he was going to do. He was going to get up there and hammer it down to 1. And he hit position 1. There was nobody home, and it's a point USA. Bruno comes out. Heller comes in, and an immediate substitution for the USA as well. Hoff in, the captain. The first bit of court time we've seen for Tommy Hoff. Made captain just before this tournament, Thomas Hoff. And it's just taken the pressure away from the other previous incumbents, but he hasn't really featured. He's not played a lot. He's on for his blocking capability, ahead of Salmon now, and that isn't required because an ace serve is good enough. Clayton Stanley once again with monotonous consistency takes it up to 118 and beats Giba fair and square in a straight shootout between the two big men. 23-20. Here he goes again. Oh, missed timing from Brazil. And a missed time from the USA. What a mess from both teams. kicked in. Stanley's found his range now in this match. But we saw this at the end of the first set. We had a couple of rallies where the nerves suddenly kicked in. And that last rally was a stinker. Nobody finding their timing. And the USA, after a little shaky patch 5 minutes ago, are back in command. 24-24 set points. First one spurned. So they're going to have to win it either on an attack or due to an error. And no surprise to see Andre being given just a quick run out again. Hoff has done his job. Captain has helped see this one over the line. Andre, the left-hander, back in for Brazil, and I think that gesture from Giba, the captain, just goes to show he wants Andre Nascimento on court. This is Brazil's last hope of saving the set, and it's a good last hope. Brilliant hit from Andre. And again, he's got it. Net touch from the USA. Dante urges everyone to calm down. Rodrigo to come in. It's only when these two teams start making substitutions that you realise what the quality of strength in depth is. Rodrigo would make it as a middle blocker in most international sides in the world. Clearly a net touch from the USA. But Rodrigo is confined to the bench. The Americans don't have that same strength in depth. If this first six doesn't perform, there's not a lot of go-to options for Hugh McCutcheon. No, mistimed again. And finally, Clayton Stanley hammers it off the block. Awful pressure on Stanley there.